When you've been through narcissistic abuse, it's natural to obsess over the narcissist. Why did they do this? Do they miss me? Are they happier with someone else? I know, I've been there. But here's the truth. The more you focus on the narcissist, the more stuck that you stay. And today I'm going to show you why and how to begin shifting that focus back to you. I'm Kaleah LaRoche, and this is the Flame Walker podcast, where we learn to stand in the fire of truth and allow the lies and distortions to burn away. Having gone through narcissistic abuse on so many different levels over the course of my life, and also over 20 years researching and working with people who are trying to navigate through the dark aftermath of narcissistic abuse, I've learned some valuable lessons. Validation of narcissistic abuse is important. It's important to know that you're not going crazy. And it's often important to understand terms like gaslighting, love bombing, narcissistic supply, narcissistic rage, flying monkeys, and other terms that shed light on what went on during the course of your relationship. There is plenty of information out there that go into detail about narcissistic behaviors. In my 20 years working with clients recovering from narcissistic abuse, I can tell you the obsessive stage where you focus on the narcissist and learn everything you can about their behavior is an important stage in your recovery. Knowledge is power. And the more you understand about narcissism and abuse, the more you're armed with the knowledge that will protect you from a Hoover or a new love bombing dynamic. Narcissistic abuse is so horribly painful that most people never want to go through it again. They want to learn everything they can to protect themselves. And yet, so many people I've worked with do return to their abusers for another round. The second round is usually more painful than the first because usually the second time around, they've learned about the dynamic of narcissistic abuse, dismissed the information, and ended up betraying themselves. It is common to dismiss the information that you've learned about narcissistic personality and tell yourself, he can't be a narcissist because he seemed to have empathy in the beginning, or he doesn't seem to have this trait or that trait, or even worse, I'm so desperate for relief from the pain that I am willing to go back into the lion's den and pretend it wasn't that bad. But it really was that bad. Sometimes when we remove ourselves from an abusive dynamic, we forget how horrible the abuse was. We're so often in denial and need to believe we were loved that we allow our self-deception to open the doors for re-entry. It's not that we necessarily believe the narcissist in our life has anything of value to offer us. It's that we're desperate for validation from the very person who invalidated us the most. We need to believe that person cared about us, loved us, and wants a relationship with us. We need to believe the relationship was real. The other option, acceptance of what is often not an option that many are willing to accept. It's too painful. It destroys the illusion of love we've been living under. It rips away the very fabric of our reality. And yet acceptance of the truth is the only way to true healing. Sometimes acceptance of the truth may involve staying in the obsessive stage, learning everything that you can learn about narcissism, and continuing to validate your ego's need to put the narcissist in the wrong, bad, horrible psycho box and put yourself in the innocent victim good, right, and real box. All the information you consume can feed into your focused obsession on the narcissist and his or her behavior. You get a dopamine hit from the continued validation that it wasn't your fault. It was the narcissist. He or she is crazy, and you're not crazy, even if you feel like you are. What doesn't get talked about a lot in the world of narcissistic abuse recovery is how focusing on the narcissist is feeding your obsession and keeping you stuck. It may bring relief for a brief moment in the form of dopamine hits and validation, but it isn't sustainable. You have to keep going back for more fixes. Real healing happens when you're ready to face the difficult and painful truth that your pain isn't really about the narcissist and what he or she is doing or not doing. It's about your own unhealed wounds that have been brought to the surface through this dynamic. Narcissistic people don't randomly select partners or prey. Partners of narcissists usually have a set of characteristics that make them vulnerable to narcissistic abuse. In fact, those characteristics often match those the narcissist himself or herself are running from, such as the core wound of unworthiness and not enoughness. Narcissists typically learn to cope and survive their childhood environments by disconnecting emotionally, adopting superiority, shutting down empathy, becoming grandiose, and adopting a false self based on an inflated ego. Those who are targeted by the narcissist polarize to the opposite extreme. They also adopt coping and survival strategies to deal with their childhood environments. Although they may be much more in touch with their core wound of unworthiness and not enoughness, their ego tends to be deflated. They tend to feel inferior. They adopt codependent coping mechanisms such as people pleasing, self sacrificing, martyrdom, overextending themselves, being kind no matter what, and putting others' needs before their own. So if you zoom out and look at the narcissist who lacks empathy and the codependent who can be empathetic to a fault, you have a match made in, well, it may feel like heaven in the beginning, but anyone who has suffered at the hands of a narcissist knows it's more like hell. Our healing comes not in understanding the narcissist and why he or she does what they do. It's more important to understand ourselves, and this can be a long, in-depth journey. In the beginning, we may feel we've been taken down to nothing. It may feel everything has been taken from us. We typically lose more than just the narcissist in our lives. The whole illusion of reality we've been living under gets shattered. We may lose friends, social groups, jobs, homes, children, and other family members as a result of the narcissistically abusive dynamic. This is a lot of pain. This is tremendous amount of grief. I know this grief. When we experience the shattering of our reality like this, we may become suicidal or have suicidal ideation because what's there left to live for? Typically, all the wind has been taken out of our sails. We've been depleted of our life force energy, and we're experiencing this horrific loss. So what is there to live for? This is the period of the dark night of the soul. And trust me, it lasts a whole lot longer than just a night. If it were just a night, any of us could survive it, but it seems to go on and on as we fight between the crumbling reality based on illusion and the truth that is beckoning us to awaken. What I've seen happen in this stage is that people find a way to prop themselves back up and call it healing. When it isn't really healing, it's a prop. It might involve finding a new relationship or telling yourself a story that keeps your own ego fueled up. But props are typically temporary. The new relationship often ends up being worse than the first one, and this too is destined to fail. Or you settle for a relationship with someone who seems nice and caring, but who you don't have a connection with and don't really love. We often engage in similar behavior to a narcissist by unconsciously using people to distract us from our pain and our fear of not being enough. Of course, we're not doing this intentionally, but so many of us look back and say, wow, I see what I did there. We live under the false illusion that we're healed, and it's the narcissist that's messed up. And although it is true that the narcissist is messed up, we are often messed up too. This is why we fell for the narcissist and believed the lies we were fed. We had low self-worth, a feeling of insignificance, deep feelings of unworthiness, an inferiority complex, and often a fragile nervous system. We often don't see these things in ourselves until we find ourselves in the worst pain of our lives trying to survive a narcissistically abusive dynamic. But now that the illusion that we've been living under is shattering, we have the great opportunity to start to focus on ourselves and heal our own false beliefs that we've been living under. When I say that you may discover that you too are messed up, what I mean is that when you believe you are not enough, not worthy, inferior, and whatever else you believe about yourself that is not true, you're living a lie. So the healing process itself is to confront the lies that you have believed about yourself and claim the truth. You are good enough. You are lovable. You are worthy. You do matter. It isn't the narcissist that caused you to feel these things and believe these things about yourself. Your core wounds were established in early childhood. It is the narcissist who revealed these wounds to you by triggering them in such a way that you could no longer ignore them. We often live under the false belief that the narcissist made us feel this way, and in no way am I discounting the horrific pain that gets unearthed with narcissistic abuse. But the deeper truth is that pain was already there, hiding beneath the surface of your awareness. The difference between you and the narcissist is that the narcissist has really sophisticated ways to keep their unconscious pain hidden. And part of their manipulative methods involve confusing you so that you believe you're the one with the problem, that you are the crazy one, maybe even that you are the narcissist. And since you feel crazy, you think maybe they're right about me. Remember, the narcissist has an overinflated ego where they tell themselves they are right, they are superior, they are the good one, and you are wrong, inferior, and bad. And since codependent people tend to have an underinflated ego, the tendency is to feel inferior to the narcissist. But it is all smoke and mirrors. It's all an illusion. It's not what the narcissist makes you feel. It's what they lead you to believe. and your feelings arise from your beliefs about yourself. You might be thinking, his new girlfriend is so much better than I am, and he's so much happier with her than he was with me. Do you think the narcissist wants you to believe this? Of course, because if you feel inferior, you're easier to manipulate and control, or you're less a threat to their carefully constructed facade. The last relationship I was in with someone who was narcissistic, I had the opposite reaction to the person that he immediately replaced me with. It was more like, are you kidding me? Her? I think I had sufficient ego strength by this time that there was no way I thought he got a better deal. But then again, I ended the relationship and I kicked him out of my life and I went no contact. I did all the right things and he was left without supply and had to run to the only person who would take him in. The stronger we become, the more we learn to navigate in self-affirming, self-loving ways. And when we recognize toxic dynamics, we free ourselves from them. We take our power back. We refuse to believe the lies or the smoke and mirrors. We begin to see the truth, and this is what happens when we awaken. The myth is that once we recognize what a narcissist is, we will never be sucked into another narcissistic dynamic. And I have not found this to be true. I know far too many women, including myself, who had more than one narcissistic partner in their life. I had a pattern that I'd healed slowly, and the more I confronted the lies I was believing about myself and practiced self-love, the quicker I noticed unhealthy relationship dynamics and separated myself from them. Because now I knew without a doubt I was worth far more than that. The real work is always to ask the question, why did I attract this into my life? What was I attracted to? When did I notice something wasn't right in this relationship? Did I go into denial about it, or did I leave? What was I afraid of? Why did I stay? What did I come to believe about myself? What did I need from that person? The more we learn to see the truth, be honest with ourselves, and practice strong boundaries, self-love, and self-care, we can begin to remove ourselves from toxic and narcissistic people and environments. But we can't do this while focusing on the narcissist. Think of the narcissist as the catalyst that revealed your deepest core wounds to you so you could heal and shift the beliefs you have long held about yourself. When you no longer believe that you are unworthy and not enough, you will no longer be someone a narcissist can control and manipulate. You will instead be someone who's in control of his or her own actions, reactions, and environment. In the end, you may not recognize the person that you've become because you've walked through the fire and allowed it to transform you. And so I invite you to walk through the fire with me, to stand in the fire of truth and allow the lies and deceptions you've been living under to burn away, revealing the truth of who you are. You're not unworthy or not enough. You are a bright light who embodies love, compassion, empathy, and who holds the sword of truth. So let's live by this truth and let it lead the way. I want to thank you for being with me today. If this podcast spoke to you, be sure to like it, subscribe, and share it with someone who may need it. And remember, your healing isn't about the narcissist. It's about reclaiming you.